Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Rusher, and you are listening to the Weebs and Memes Podcast. So, we're at episode 12. We've done it. Life has found a way. We have made it to the end of the season, and with it, we still have a couple shows remaining. More on that later. But we are here. We're excited. And dear Lord, oh man, it's kind of exciting to be like done with this season, because now we're at the point where we can be like, was it worth it? And we get like the big reveal and all that jazz. So I'll be going over the shows and and then next week, and we're going to be doing this again on Saturday because we want to get the last episode of Yorage no Yunasan into our list, because I think we're on episode 10 for this week. So we want to get episode 11, episode 12, and then do our little finale. And I've already confirmed with Nellie-san, and he will be with us for that. So excite. Anyway, so let's get right into it. So we have the finale for Island. So, previously we started getting some revelations after oh Lord, I've already forgotten names. Setsuna is starting to clear up some of the past stuff, solving all of the conflicts, and now things are figured out. But there's still a looming thought about like how he got here and various other things, and turns out, and this is revealed by Sara alongside the scientist lady. I don't remember her name. Momoko Yamabuki. So Sara and Momoko reveal that the time travel device that was used is not actually a time travel device. It's kind of strange, right? Looking into the records even further, Setsuna goes down to the library and looks for books, getting information on the past, especially after seeing a previous picture of Rine's mother. I should probably explain how important it is that they didn't go back in time. Basically, the world's in an never-ending loop of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. The same pattern, the same house. It's just pure chance. And that fact never gets explained. So, yeah. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So after looking at a picture of a younger, or seeing a family photo, Setsuna starts to realize that there's something up about Kyon, and when he looks at the records in the basement, he can't find a specific year. After searching around and Rine getting very upset about it, he stumbles across an old book detailing that Kyon arrived on the beach very similar to Setsuna many years ago. And when she arrived, she had barely any memory whatsoever. So they hired her as a maid on the island, the master of the mansion. The master and his wife are unable to sire a child, and so learning that the maid had apparently washed ashore pregnant, man, that sounds familiar, they decide to take in the daughter. When it becomes more apparent that it's just not going to happen, they decide to make Rine the Rine that we know today, the actual head of the household, and Kyon to lead as well. Maybe I reversed the order or something like that. Maybe they died prematurely or something like that. Maybe that was what happened in the flashback of old Setsuna. But regardless, Kyon, or as is eventually revealed, future Rine, and modern Rine, because gosh, we just really can't get anything, right? They, what is it? I don't know. They're in charge of the house from now on. So, with this information, Setsuna approaches Kyon, or Rine. God, it just gets so difficult. And is like, I know your past. You're my wife from future, and Rine here is our daughter. And it's like, oh, what a twist! It's not like we couldn't have predicted that. I don't know if I predicted it or not. Probably should have checked. Oh well. But Kyon's initially like, no, I can't, because oh God, I forget the reason why, but eventually past Rine convinces her to, accept it and be happy. She was upset because she arrived too early to the past instead of just on time. So, but, it all worked out, and the series ends with Setsuna and Kyon / Rine. It's not going to get easier anytime soon. Going on a cruise as a honeymoon they have a wedding, and then they go on their honeymoon. And that's Island. Hey, time-space continuum is actually safe. Don't worry, guys. Multiverse theory is not a thing. As much as I wanted it to be. But, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I actually really liked about the series was that they did a good job of explaining things at the very end. We get a bunch of backstory, and it's like, okay, now all the things are connected. There's a couple unanswered questions, such as how when time reloops, it doesn't, it's just weird that it's like, oh yeah, it's the same exact thing each time. I don't know. I also don't know where Setsuna, or like the first loop for Setsuna is. So like what happened in the first loop to cause him to be like, I need to kill somebody. So there's a lot of little unanswered questions. And also, my favorite part when I was thinking about it was, well, seems like you can do a Karin path, a Sara path, but guess whose path you can't do? Can't get current Rine in a visual novel. So it was just kind of a funny thought. It's like, ha, get you baited. But, that's typically how visual novels work. You do a little like plot twist. No, you don't get this person, regardless of what you want to do. Generally, actually, if you go down that path, that's technically considered a bad ending. It's like you're going down like the correct path, and then it's like, oh, but I'm tempted to go down this path, while still pursuing the other path, and it just doesn't work. But yeah, that is all of Island, and Island, despite the first episode being a very hard watch, the show had a lot of great points. The art is really well done. The visuals were appealing enough, I guess. It really depends on what your taste tastes are. So I found it enjoyable. You might not find it enjoyable, but give it a try. If it's not your speed or you don't like, well, actually, if you're watching this and you already know everything that happened, dear Lord. But it's it's good. I don't know if the OST was all that remarkable. So I'd have to like sit down and actually listen to it. Or, you could always play the visual novel that's on Steam. That's also an option. I think that's like $25 now. Let's actually take a peek at that. I think it's going to be $25. No, it's like $40. Whoops. Localization. Woo. Anyway, that concludes Island for Realsies. So, up next, we have Hanebado episode number 11. So, here we are. We're on the home stretch. So, in this episode, we start off with a little bit of drama back at Ayano's house because, Ayano's mother's there and she's like, hey, I want to talk with you. And Ayano's like, no, I don't need you anymore. So, just typical mother-daughter relationships, right? Relatable? No. It's back to this crazy Ayano. Which, it just doesn't make sense. The show doesn't make any sense at this point. But, we get a little bit more practice at school. Ayano really wants to play against Nagisa. And Nagisa is just trying to keep a level head. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, no, this game's going to be interesting, Everyone's trying to do their best and all that stuff. And, yeah. Then, spending more time looking at Ayano's personal life with their mother, being like, hey, stop being so insane. She's like, no, I don't need you. And then Nagisa trying to get as much information as possible, which actually pays off as the last match begins. So, yeah, we got right into the first match. And Nagisa's playing smart, doing good shots, trying to keep Ayano away from her strengths. So that was good. There was like a little like side thing where like they're like, hey, best of luck everyone. Ayano's just like, no, I don't need your luck. It's all skill at this point. And then Elena, her best friend, is like, man, I am so sorry that I got you back into badminton. This was a absolute mistake, which is it. I feel bad for Elena in a way because like she just wanted to do what she thought was best for Ayano, even though Ayano didn't want it to begin with. And then she was like, yeah, I'm super into it. And then now she's just absolutely insane. And that's just like so much weighing down on her. And then, so we have the match going on. Elena is unable to like get Ayano to snap out of it. So while they're playing the game, she goes and follows Uchika, or Ayano's mother, to a vending machine, and the episode ends with them like starting to talk. As for the badminton game, I think we're about 7 points in, like 4-3 or something, with Nagisa leading. I'm not entirely certain of the numbers off the top of my head, but we're almost there. So we have one more episode for this, so you'll be hearing about it next week. But hopefully it will be enjoyable nonetheless. So let's continue down our list to, oh god, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. So in the grand finale of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, give a quick reminder of what happened in the last episode. So little Krebskrum, I think, Clem, So she gets super mad when Rem gets stabbed by Priest Dude, who doesn't have an image here. So she goes on a rampage and decides to kill everybody. Because Demon Lord stuff. Sweet. So she's starting to destroy the city, and everyone's kind of trying to, like, stop her. Celestine is, trying to protect the barricade. Diablo sent Shera to revive Rem. He's setting up an attack against Clem. Meanwhile, off in the distance, we have Eldegardo and Alicia, whose strategy it was to use hatred to bring Clem's power back to eradicate all humans, because humans are the worst, which, in her defense, we really are. Don't question me on this. So everyone's freaking out. Even good old Chester Ray Galfordo is also like, I have no idea what to do. I guess we'll just let Diablo do this, even though I really want to step in and use my military might, because that's all I can measure myself in. So Diablo starts fighting. He's setting down a bunch of traps, and it's stressful for him. And he does get saved by our good old white knight, Emil. He helps out the girls and makes sure that they don't get destroyed. Diablo manages to cast a pretty high level spell, and basically one hit KO Clem, who then gets talked to by Rem and Shera, calming her down and eventually reverting Clem back to her original form. The good old headmistress of the guild, Sylvie, is like, well, I mean, she's a demon lord. This is a problem. Unless you have a way we can, like, feel comfortable with you, with her, we gotta figure that out. And so Diablo, in his ever so brilliant brilliance, well, I can just make her my servant, and that would just solve everything, right? So, once again, women are slaves to men. Good message. Thank you. Sarcasm. So, Clem is now part of the chain necklace girls. I don't know. And they go back to the hotel room for the evening. Meanwhile, over at the enemy encampment, Eldegardo tells Alicia to run, make a run for it when she attacks, and she betrays the entire demon army over there. Eldegardo does take a bit of damage, and by a bit I mean a lot. So Alicia grabs either Shera or Rem as a hostage, and forces them to heal Eldegardo. Meanwhile, Diablo manages to talk down Alicia and try to make her, be more sane about the whole situation. We do get a little bit of her history and how it's like, these people were mean to me, so, like, all humans are this way, and it's kind of a weak argument, and I don't know if it's just straying away from the original source or something else, but eventually Diablo manages to calm him down, but he is spent on magic power, so he's like, God, I'm just gonna be in a whole lot of trouble, but at least everyone's happy. And they're like, oh, well, we'll help you restore your magic power, much like that one time that Clem did it, because anime logic. Let's just have a huge orgy at the end of the episode. And then Diablo passes out because Diablo, that's just the kind of character that he is. Even Alicia got in on it. It was just like, really? Really? It was just a whole lot of bad. But that was basically it. And then apparently Clem and Eldegado open up a little cafe while Diablo, Shara, and Rem still go out on adventures. I don't think there was really an epilogue for Alicia. But, we get the epilogue for Diablo, Shara, and Rem, where Shara and Rem are like, well, you kissed Clem. Which one do you like more? Give us a kiss. To which Diablo just can't decide because he is stuck in a very difficult position where like either answer would just ruin his relationship with both of the main characters. So I actually kind of approve of his result with it, even though it's kind of a prick move because he's still stringing him along. But, anime and harems, so it's like, it's a lose-lose regardless. But that concludes How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. So we're left with a question. Is this show good? To which my immediate response is no. It is not. It is not a good show. But at the same time, if you are a fan of harem ecchi shows, this would be a show to look into. I mean, what's good about it isn't it isn't the story. The story's mediocre. It's like, oh, this person gets stolen. Or, well, it handles the story okay. If you're looking for combat, this isn't the show. If you're looking for a power fantasy, this might be the show. But it's less focused on, oh, my intelligence stat is super high, so I deal an insane amount of damage. No, it's more about, dear Lord, how do I do social situations? Oh God, there's so many people around me. How do I handle this social situation in a way that doesn't offend people, but still maintains this facade that I'm holding up? And that's the funny part for me, as a socially inept human being. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. This is going to be a show that you honestly gotta give a try. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. So, but, it has some cool moments, I guess. It's like, oh, hey, that's really well done. But, yeah. Anyway, that is How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. All right. We are here. The show we've been dreading the most this entire season is finally over. So let's give one last review before we close the carcass and just let it die. We have Harukana Receive, episode number 12. So, flashback to previous stuff. Team Harukana versus Team Eclair. It's the final set, and it's a tie at 14-14. Both teams have the drive to win. Meanwhile, Akari and I and Mai are watching on the sideline alongside Team Harukana's grandmother, but no biggie. Anyway, it's a stressful game, and it's right at the very edge. Everyone's tired. And to be fair, they did a really good job with this last episode in regards to the sports aspect of it. They show the entire remainder of the set, so all 3 rallies. So it was it might have been 4 actually. I think it was Team Eclair gets Team Harukana gets 1, Team Eclair gets 1, and then Team Harukana gets 2. Because in volleyball, what happens is when it's a deuce or tied at 14-14 or 20-20, you have to get a lead by 2 in order to win, 2 or more. So it's just a battle to win 2 rounds in a row. And they have the writing for it work perfectly well. They have a little bit of off screen for our sideline celebrity commentators, Akari, Mai, I, and Team Ozura. No, darn it, the grandmother to commentate about the situation. They handled that part actually really, really well. And the actual animations for like the actual play, that was also really good. They didn't cheap out with just like doing like a boom, slap, a little bit of motion, and then just doing a still as the CGI ball spins around and all that jazz. And you know what they finally did? And this has driven me absolutely insane throughout the entirety of the show. It's like, throughout the entirety of the show, they have never done like a setup or anything like that went over to the other side, or they never saved it and the ball went back over to the other side. So there was no instance until this episode of a chanceable. So if you've seen Haikyuu, you probably know what I mean, because they yell it every 20 seconds, which is part of the reason why I think Haikyuu is a little bit better, because it's like, it's a lot more realistic. You aren't going to be able to save every shot. But anyway, so they finally got a chance ball in. They actually got like 2 or 3 in. So I was like, all right, you're now paying your dues. That's good. You're trying to get this a little bit more realistic. So anyway, the game goes back and forth a bit. We actually start with a bit of foreshadowing. I know I'm like going back and forth between everything. Akari calls what's the team's names? Narumi and Ayasa, particularly Narumi, being like, so the game just finished and won, or whatever. So to no surprise, after the 4 rounds, Team Harukana is the winner over Team Eclair. We get a nice little celebration, like, yay, we did it. And then Claire runs off, to which Emily follows. And they have like a little talking moment, because Claire and Emily don't really lose that often, so it was a little bit rough on them. And there was a fun little question that Emily asked, which I really liked it. It was, do you regret training them? Referring to Team Harukana, because had they not trained them, they would have won the match hands down. To which Claire responded, obviously, with no. We've made good rivals. But you know, it's that was just such a nice, like, or not a nice thing, but it was like it was a thought that would be going through my head if I was in Claire's position. It's like, you know, this could have been ours had we chosen not to be this way. And it's a very dark thought to have, because in the end, like, it's been a positive experience for both sides. But like, I could see where that darkness could start from and eventually spread over. And I just felt that was, it just stuck with me. Much more than the rest of the show has. Anyway, so in the meantime, Team Harukana is actually like a little bit sad, because, you know, they just beat their friends in a game of beach volleyball, you know, like the most important thing in the world. It's kind of like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like, where, you know, oh man, I just lost this card game, now I'm super depressed, you know? It's dumb. To which Akari shows a text from Narumi. Guess who's been irrelevant throughout the entirety of the series? Shows a text from Narumi to the pair, and it's like, hey, you know, you won. Don't be upset about it. And they're like, okay, we won't be upset about it. And that solves that problem. So, after that, hey, is the series done? Almost. The rest of the time is filled with a little bit of slice of life. One of my favorite jokes right at the very start was Haruka and Kanata with like some coolers heading out towards the beach, and the grandmother's walking to like see them off. And then on the left end of the screen, we see a person moving into frame, and the grandmother's like, "Ah, Grandpa, are you gonna come too?" And then it just cuts the it almost does like a zoom pan, and then it goes to the turtle, and I'm like, perfect. That just fits everything. It's like this mythical grandpa. He exists. They're just not going to show any men on this show because it's just funny to do that because it's not the focus. I just found it very funny that they did that throughout the entirety of it because it's just such a fun, like a subtle thing. I mean, like there's probably men in like the crowd and stuff, but it's just funny. Or maybe I'm just absolutely insane. This is just an island full of, people who really love beach volleyball. You never know. But anyway, so they have a little beach party. They actually do some swimming in the ocean. God, where was that this entire season? I feel like they could have generated a whole lot more clicks with that. But, shows work in very weird ways. And while they're grilling up some food, they have some funny banter. It's like, oh no, I dropped the tongs. Oh, don't worry, I have extra. Wait, did you, is that what you brought with the cooler that you got? And it's like a big, like, Texas steak, and it's just like, oh my God. So it's like, it's fun little humor like that they have. And then the groups converse. Claire and Haruka talk for a little bit about like the final moments of the match, and like, all right, well, don't lose, and here's like our little like friendship ribbons that Akari made and stuff, or not ribbons, like scrunchies, I think is the best way I can refer to them as. I don't know if that's the actual term, but yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it's scrunchies. Thank you, Internet. But anyway, yeah, we're friends, right? And it's like, yeah, we're friends. We're cool. All that jazz. So everyone comes back, and that's the end of Haruka Receive. And you know what? Don't watch this show. Honestly. It's good if you just want, summer vibes. Because, like, this is very much a summer show. Island, even though it's set on a tropical island and all that stuff, it's not as much of a summer show. It's just, like, it's more focused on the murder mystery. Or, not the murder mystery, the mystery aspect of it. It's less focused on, just having fun in the sun, at the beach, doing all that stuff. And the soundtrack also kind of reflects that as well. The show just has so many like summer vibe songs, and honestly, I'm tempted to put a couple of them into like a playlist and stuff just so I can have that for like whenever I want to like listen to summer music, which does happen from time to time. I'm not actually much of a person for seasonal playlists. It's just like whatever song I'm listening to right now is what I'm listening to. But it's just a thought that I'm tossing out. It's not the best show, but it's not the worst show either. And to be fair, we had cut out a couple good shows earlier in the Weebs and Memes podcast. So it's there's shows out there that can be enjoyable for a lot of people. Also, I just got reminded by this image right here. There's a lot of CGI in it, a lot of sand CGI specifically, and it's not the best. But, as I said, you're honestly not coming to this show if you want like a high intensity sports show. You're coming into the show for either fan service, or you're coming into it for just I don't even know what you would even come into the show for. Probably just fan service, or you specifically like beach volleyball, or you want a summer show. So if that's what you want, either of those three aspects, go for it. But it's not the best show, and even the slice of life bits are a little bit boring. And there's very minimal drama as well. It's just a lot of training, and then it's like, oh hey, 2 tournaments, good, done. I don't know. I'm not the best at giving solid opinions. But, hey, got through my trash show for the season. Up next, we have Angels of Death. Now, I know it says on the site that it's 12 episodes. It's still doing the 16 episodes. So, what happened? Well, if y'all remember last time, Rachel and Zach got through Gray's floor and are now exploring the floor B1, where Rachel is starting to remember things about her past, and she doesn't want Zach to know about it. Floor B1 is apparently where Rachel previously either lived or is modeled after where Rachel used to live. So she's like freaking out because she doesn't want Zach to know that, she's killed these people, or she killed a person or something along those lines. We don't know exactly yet, but we have a vague idea. So Zach opens a door to a room, and inside of it, he finds a couple that are sitting side by side, a couple flowers, a Bible, and he starts snooping around, to which Rachel responds with, please be careful, don't be touching things randomly, you could get hurt. She's obviously hiding something, but Zach being Zach, he's not picking up on social clues, and he hears something outside the room. It's a symbol monkey, and as he goes to explore, Dr. Danny, our good old doctor, he sneaks behind him and grabs her. Does Rachel pass out before or after that? I think she passes out before he locks her in the room. And the room is protected with metal. So he's safe from Zach, and he says he'll only open it up once Zach learns the truth about Rachel. To which Zach's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to do that. And he starts exploring the house. The house is riddled with traps. I think one of them was kind of a gun in the window. And then as he's exploring the basement, there's some dogs that he kills. And then he's going through a transitional hallway. And there is a spike pit to which he actually falls into and is staying afloat, or is able to stay up kind of with his scythe. But the problem is that he's losing grip. And right as he's about to fall, what's gonna happen? Oh, he's saved by Gray, and Gray's like, I'm old and I'm wise and I know everything that's going on, except you don't, so you need to figure it out as well. Do you want my help? And to that, Zach's like, no, I can do this myself. So he continues exploring. Meanwhile, back in hostage situation, Rachel and Danny are now watching TV. Oh wait, no, it's a network security cameras, so they're watching Zach explore the house. Zach eventually finds a nameplate, or finds a room that has a lot of kind of like small aspects of all of the different people, Danny, Eddie, and Kathy, and maybe a bit of Gray as well. And there's red stitching on it. And on top of a table, he finds a music box, and next to it a photograph of a family. That family being similar to the couple that was inside of the room, and the man being similar to the person that stabbed the woman that Rachel saw that kind of gave her trauma. So anyway, Zach, he winds up the music box, listens to it, and then eventually it opens up and he finds a nameplate in it. One of the doors in the upstairs was locked and didn't have a nameplate on it. Looking at the photograph and looking at the nameplate, he's like, oh, these names are the same. It must be Rachel's name, because remember, Zach can't read and he can barely write. So he goes back up, opens the door, and at this point, Rachel getting absolutely insane and Dr. Danny laughing at Zach's desire to learn more, allows for Rachel to try to run through the house and prevent Zach from going into what's presumably her room. So anyway, Zach goes in and looks around. Rachel's unable to stop him. And Zach looks around. Seems like a normal room. Television turns on and it's a news broadcast. It's talking about a family that was killed, and the sole survivor being their daughter. And the parents were killed in a weird way. There was bullet wounds, knife wounds, and they were sewn together extremely weirdly. And so there was a lot of suspicion about Rachel and what her part was in this. And you could see Rachel on the TV screen, which isn't really like good television, because generally you're supposed to censor the faces with that, but you know, who understands TV guidelines, right? And anyway, so Zach has a slight picture of what's going on, and that's kind of where the episode ends. So we're left with kind of a bit of a question. What did Zach, or what is Rachel's quirk? She sews and she shoots. That's all that we kind of get. We don't know what drove her to this insanity. But I'm hoping that we'll get more information in the next episode. And I'm also a little bit hoping that the next episode's the finale, so that the last 3 episodes can focus on Danny, Eddie, Kathy, and Gray's backstory, so that we can get a little bit of backstory on them, because that would be super interesting, in my opinion, as kind of like pseudo OVAs. But we don't know what's going on with that. But I do think that this series, it's had its fluctuations between being good and bad, and it's starting to lean a little bit back into the good as we're reaching the final chapters of it, it feels like. But that's Angels of Death for you. I'm going to need a quick liquid break to just kind of get a little bit more power back in my voice. So give me just 1 second as I take a sip of some nondescript liquids. It's a Gatorade, by the way. Not a sponsor yet. All right. So up next, we have 7 Senses of the Reunion, episode number 12, the finale. So, y'all remember last episode where Takanori managed to calm down Nozumi? And now they're Takanori calmed down Nozomi, and then Asahi shot Haruto. Man, I don't know if people remember that, so let's, remind everybody about that and then explain why she did that. Oh, it was because Nozomi made her relive that dungeon with her visions, which apparently at the very end, Haruto had protected her, but Nozomi, in her angry state, decided to just ruin Asahi's memory of it and make her think she shot Haruto. And I'm trying to remember how this resolved, because what I remember is either they defeat the remainder clowns or they don't. So yeah, like I paid attention during this show, I swear. But oh god. Yeah, so Clive gets attacked by a dude, and Haruto has like a memory of promising people to get stronger with a power up to his sense. And Alicia shows up, and she's like, yo, I'll help you out, and gets him out of a relatively precarious situation. And with Haruto back and rejuvenated, he's able to, just do that one-hit KO thing they do, and actually manages to defeat both of the remaining clown people that convinced Nozomi to join them. And there's a little bit of after the battle, it's like, oh, hey, Nozomi, you're back, yay! And she's like, oh, Asahi, you're here, great. Nozomi makes a sheath for Haruto's sword, and Alicia explains the reasoning behind the 7 jewels on the sword, which name is... Oh, God. I really paid attention to this show. Oh, gosh. I don't remember. It's like it was a set of stars in the sky that shone brightly. Pleiades or something like that. And it was discovered by it's an open star cluster, Pleiades or something like that. And like it was discovered by a couple people. I don't know. It's weird. It was like, oh, it was discovered by this many people, and then like there's this many stars and stuff. And it's kind of similar to how this group is, where it's like, hey, there's 6 of you, and then there's me in the background. And then she disappears because logic. Then party all logs out so that Takanori can go and do his white knight thing and save Nozomi from her super scary internet cafe private room. At least she was safe and wasn't with the crazy clown dude. So they have a little bit of a tender moment, and then there's a little bit of a time skip. Haruto's like, hey, I'm actually doing a lot better now that I'm playing video games with my friends again, and they don't hate me. for killing our friend in a video game, which apparently caused her to die in real life, but we don't really know if she's actually dead. You're just gonna have to read the light novel. And so it's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna go on a quest as guild. And apparently people are now aware that people can use senses in the real world as well, and that's, not a problem at all. Now, it actually is a problem, and there was a serious court investigation that's going into it, but it doesn't matter at this point. The series is over. And, oh man, this is a tough one for me. I personally really enjoyed the show, because it's just good background noise. The story's really easy to follow. The characters do feel very tropey at times. The music's pretty okay, if memory serves me right. But it is a lot of a power fantasy. Like, it's not a traditional RPG. It's all based off of it. It's like Sword Art Online. If you have or not Sword Art Online per se, but it's like if you have enough natural skill, you're good. Even if you're level 1. And I don't know if I feel all that good about that for something like this. So I don't know. But what I do know is that out of all the shows so far that have ended, I honestly think this might be one of the better of them. Yeah, it's pretty much tied with Island at the moment as being a good show, which isn't saying much, but it's not saying nothing either, especially considering how good Heart Connor Receive's been. And how not to summon a demon lord. So anyway, up next, oh yes, the Swim Boys. Let's go. We have Free Dive into the Future episode number 11. So, swim training for Haru and Rin. Mikal is now in Japan, helping Rin prepare for All Japan. And the primary focus of this episode, besides, the revolving cast, because, can't help itself, is actually Nagisa and Rei coming to Tokyo to do their swimming, representing Iwatobi in like the Junior All Japan or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so they show up, meet up with Makoto and the high school crew, Go, Romeo, Shizuru, Ayumu. They all get lunch with Makoto and stuff. And I finally realized the joke with Ayumu. Well, Go is obsessed with muscle. Ayumu is obsessed with fat. Because logic? Sure. I mean, to each their own. To be fair, having considerable weight or fat, per se, in some cultures does actually imply that you are rich. Now, those are more less well-off nations and stuff, but nevertheless, trying to give some sort of excuse for it. But yeah, body positivity. Let's go. Let's just go with that. So anyway, they're just kind of spending the day in Japan. Haru and Rin were meant to be practicing, but they decided to ditch practice and instead cheer on their friends because that's what good friends do. Apparently Rei and Asahi knew each other from probably one of the movies. So they catch back up, and that kind of knocks Rei out of his funk. And upon seeing Haru in the stands, he swims the best he has done, but still doesn't get to go to nationals. and Nagisa gives his best against Aichiro Nitori. So they swim against each other. And I think I won. And Nagisa doesn't go on to the next stage, but they had fun. It's their senior year. They're going to go off to college, so it's, not the end of the world, right? So it was good to have like the whole group back together, and next time we're going to have the grand finale of races with the All Japan. And this episode had a lot of heart to it. And did a little bit of flashbacks to the previous seasons and the movies and all that stuff. And I think it did a really good job of it. A lot better than actually the other series that were just using it to pad time. Nagisa was questioning his relationship with Rei and just thought back to all the memories that they shared together. And that was kind of what helped him focus a little bit more. And then hearing his friends cheer him on, I thought this episode was good. You don't have to agree with me on it, but, not all anime has to be good. And I think this show surprisingly is doing good this season, just simply because A, its competitors aren't the best, and B, it's free. It's when you have a cast of characters that you've watched grow for an extended period of time, you kind of just get attached to them. So, I'm biased, but, to each their own. Anyway, that's going to conclude Free Dive Into the Future episode number 11. And next week's going to be the finale, so woot! Alright, and second to last on this, we have Yuragiso no Yunasan. So, what happened this time? Hey, it's a school trip. That's pretty cool. So, Kogarashi, Yuna, Chisaki, Sagiri, and some people, or the other member of Sagiri's clan, I can't remember her name, they all go to the beach. But before that, Sagiri got to get a new swimsuit. So we got to go swimsuit shopping, and we got to be very bold about it. Kogarashi makes an offhand comment about one of the swimsuits, which ends up becoming the one that Sagiri gets, but not before typical harem hijinks ensue. I don't know. I mean, he was kind of tricked into going to pick out a swimsuit, so I can't blame Kogarashi, but at the same time, he probably should have caught on to the fact that they just wanted a man's opinion. So I don't know. Anyway, so we're over at the beach, and there's apparently a monster somewhere in the beach that apparently gets people while they're in the water, says the other member of the Chunin, the same clan as Sagiri, while they are in the water, to which then Tentacle Monster, because anime, steals their swimsuits. God, the more I watch this show, the more it just makes me think of To Love Ru, except with ghosts. It's almost like that's intentional. Anyway, Kogarashi decides to swim down to the bottom of the ocean and punch the thing, thus solving all issues. But people still don't believe Kogarashi is a spirit medium, so Chisaki hatches a plan. During the test of courage, whoever ends up going with Kogarashi has to will get spooked by ghosts and have to fight a monster, thus proving to the rest of the class that Kogarashi is actually a spirit medium, because he gets bullied for it, and we need to stop the bullying by putting people in dangerous situations. Ching! Anyway, as the plot works out, Kogarashi and Chisaki end up going together, so that just ruins everything. And it seems like Yuna, Sagiri, and Sagiri's friend just can't hold it together. But wait, after a couple failed things, it turns out that apparently there's a monster in the forest. And that's where the episode ends. I kid you not. So, I don't know. I honestly don't know. This was an episode. If you're a big fan of the humor style that comes from that, then, it's good. But I felt like it was a poor way to set up a finale. And to be fair, I would be perfectly satisfied if they had went with Obero's little finale, or like the Obero arc as a finale, where the Black Dragon God steals Yuna. I thought that was perfectly done. So I know that they can do it, and I know the source material is capable of handling a conclusion, but I don't know if it will pace out correctly for a finale. So hopefully it does, but I'm not keeping my hopes all that high for it. But yeah. And to finish this week's listing off, we have Happy Sugar Life episode number 11. So, last time, and technically, it's time before that. The Land Before Time. Sato kills Shoko. Yeah. And so they need to flee Tokyo, or wherever they're living. So Sato, while Shio's asleep, does the unthinkable, dresses in all black and visits her aunt and asks for help. Her aunt goes a little bit crazy for a bit, being like, "You need adults. You can't be independent. Give it a couple more years till you grow up." To which, after tolerating it for an extended period of time, Sato eventually snaps at her and is like, "You need to take responsibility for making me a messed up child." To which the aunt's like, "Yeah, no, you're right." And so they work on cleaning up the apartment of all the blood so that she doesn't get caught. Sato also gets passports from the stalker girl. And Mitsubashi, he goes on a fun little trip. So he encounters Asahi, who's he's on the edge and he's just about to break. And he tells him to find out where Sato is. And to find out where she lives and relay that information over to him. And so Mitsubashi goes into work and is like, "Yeah, no, I'll be there tomorrow," or something like that. To the worker, who's like, "Yeah, no, Shoko's not responding, and Sato's, busy as well." And Mitsubashi looks through the employee records and finds Sato's address. Reminder, Sato's address is her aunt's address. And decides to, instead of letting Asahi know what's up, to just investigate it for himself, because he needs to encounter Shio. Yeah. You're kind of seeing where this is going. So Mitsubashi approaches the house, gives it a knock, nobody's there. Finds out that the door's unlocked, walks in, immediately hit with, I think, a stench, or maybe he goes a couple steps in before he starts really realizing how much of a mess the apartment is. Just as he's about to leave, spooky aunt right behind him. And just a casual reminder, Mitsubashi's greatest fear is women. Like adult women. Who really, really like forcing themselves upon men. And what does Sato's aunt really, really like to do? Force herself upon men. And so ends the tale of Taiyo Mitsubashi. Meanwhile, Sato and Shio are trying to escape the area, so who knows what's going to happen in the finale. I think we're going to get an encounter with Asahi between them. Also, the whole time, Asahi had been trying to contact Shoko, which is very sad knowing the truth about it. So, I'm excited to see what happens. Hopefully we get some sort of resolution that doesn't end with any more like major deaths. I'm hoping we just get some arrests, simple stuff. Maybe Mitsubashi is going to be saved and sent to psychiatric help. The instructor is probably going to go crazy and then reveal that he's absolutely insane, go to psychiatric help. Maybe the aunt will go get some psychiatric help. If you're not feeling good in the head and or you have thoughts that are borderline obsessive, you should get some psychiatric help. So, yeah. This show is just insane, and I love it. But at the same time, I can see a couple of the messages that it's trying to send with it. And I'm really excited to see how it all ends, because at this point, it can go any way. Anybody can be a winner. Sato could, be able to run off with Shio, and it's just the aftermath of it all. Asahi could kill Sato, and Shio would be scared of him, and he wouldn't know what to do. Diplomatic solution. The aunt might just betray Sato anyway. She did actually. Here's a funny thing. There was a line that was like, yeah, no, I talked to Kobe. I mean, that policeman. So implying that she has essentially corrupted the cops to give her an information lead about Shoko's death. So I don't know. It's going to be an insane finale, I hope. And I'm really excited for it. Happy Sugar Life has definitely been one of the best shows this season. I just can't even deny it. But yeah, so that concludes anime for this week. We managed to finish off Island, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, Harukan Receive, and 7 Senses of the Reunion. So next week, we will be finishing off Hanebado. Technically Angels of Death, even though it will technically still have 3 episodes after this, but I have a feeling we're getting close to the very end. We're also finishing up Free Dive into the Future, Yuragi Sona Unison, and Happy Sugar Life. So, I hope you've all enjoyed this week's episode of the Weebs and Memes Podcast, and I hope that our commentary throughout the entirety of this has been interesting as well. If you're interested in, or if you showed up late and you want to catch the episodes, check out my YouTube channel. There is a link. Well, actually, no. If you're watching it, there's a link on my Twitch, and you're most likely watching this on YouTube. So sorry. Or you can check us out on Twitter at Alex Rusher. You should also follow Nellie-san because he's a funny bloke, and normally the co-host who's around for this. And And also follow us on those social medias that always display on the bottom, because, it lets us know, hey, people are interested in us talking about stuff. And I think we do a pretty okay job. It's pretty rambly, but, that's kind of what you need to do. Anyway, to end this off, I'm going to play a song from the good folks over at Broken Elegance. Well, the good folk over at Broken Elegance. I'm going to play some Winter Sleep. So I want to thank you all for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.